don't give people too many choices at once, because that can block the booking. But you should just keep it simple, even if you are giving choices. Keep it simple. And I think we all want to avoid gotcha fees. The consumers can feel the difference between adding value and trying to be punished.
Hello everyone, welcome to Self-Storage Explained. I'm here today with Gavin.
Hello David.
And we're here to talk about unbundling the self-storage sale. You gave a very interesting talk at Fidessa this year in Dublin.
Thank you.
Yeah, there was a lot of interest in it afterwards. A lot of people coming up to the stand asking us, about some of the topics and ideas that you covered, that you covered in the talk. For anyone who didn't catch the talk, what do you mean by unbundling the self-storage sale?
Well, unbundling is about taking the sale and splitting it into parts and letting the customer just pay for the parts that they want and they value.
Interesting.
So it's not about tricking people or anything else, just about giving people transparency about what they want to get and giving them the choice to have it or not have it. So
okay, interesting. So how has the self-storage sales model traditionally been bundled then, if we're talking about unbundling? And what do you see changing? What
we see a lot of time with our customers and the industry as a whole is there's often just a price for self-storage and then you might add on insurance, but usually that's it. Now some people might have tried a little bit more for different access times, that sort of stuff. But in general, in the industry, what we see is you pay a price and everything's bundled together. So that might include access hours, how many times you access the place, where your unit is. It's all just kind of bundled into one price. Mm-hmm. We've also seen the good, better, best pricing, where sometimes you can pick a unit by the door or want one of the better units. So it's not like we've never seen attempts at this, but we just haven't seen it kind of rolled out across the industry and done at scale and done in a way that you'd expect this to actually work. So I think whenever we've talked about it in the past as an industry, we've talked about splitting things up and charging extra for this, that and the other, but it hasn't really happened yet at scale.
Yep.
And I was talking last week about how I think that can change, what needs to change for it to become a much more normal part of the way the industry sells self-storage and use that to help drive revenue I think revenue can be driven by about 20% if we get this right.
Interesting. And was there any particular industry or vertical that inspired you to explore this topic? What was the inspiration for the talk?
Well, I suppose we've all seen the past 20 years the way you book a flight's changed. So you used to book a flight and it came with your airfare plus your seat plus a meal plus drinks and a 20 kilogram bag. Now obviously that's generally not the case. Yep. You'll just get your airfare and then it's extra to pick a seat, extra to get on first, extra to check in a bag. There's all these extras, so it's about breaking it down and giving. And it's one of the reasons that you can go away for a weekend and pay £20 or £50 for a flight, because you're choosing not to bring a 20 kilogram bag. You're choosing, I'll just take any seat, and that's giving me or people who book those flights, it's giving you the opportunity to fly it in a way that we couldn't do 25 years ago. You couldn't. I remember flying to Edinburgh, I think when I was 16 or 17, to go and check out the university, and the only people were BA, and it was probably 150, 200 quid at the time to do that, to go over to Edinburgh. Yep. And now, I can probably get back and forth to Edinburgh for 50 quid.
Yep. So that's an interesting point. I think that you touched on. It's not about trying to extract more out of people. It's actually about giving people choice.
Yes.
It's like putting control into the hands of the consumer. How do you balance that choice though, with giving customers choice but keeping the experience kind of simple?
Well, it's about doing it right. So one of the things that also I did a bit of research before the talk and found that 1/3 of Ryanair's revenue, so that two-thirds are airfare,
wow.
1/3 is ancillaries. So think about their airfare revenue and then 50% additional for ancillaries, so like bags and seats and all this stuff that people didn't used to charge for. So this can be a massive revenue driver for an industry. So that was the first thing. It's really worth trying to figure this out. And then how do you get the balance right? So you don't want to annoy people. So this isn't about building something that pisses people off. It's about building something that gives people the choice. So one of there are differences between flights and hotels and self-storage. Most people, almost everyone, knows what a flight means, knows picking a seat, all those things, what it means. You know what it's like booking a hotel. It's much more commonly used service. Self-storage is often people are using for the first time. So it's much more of an unknown. So there's a couple of things that we, I suppose, focused on really last week was about why has unbundling not really happened yet in this industry? And there are 3 reasons. The first reason is that it doesn't work if it's offline. So it only works online. It has to be presented. Can you imagine trying to book a Ryanair flight on the phone?
Yeah.
Too much choice. It has to be presented in a way that's easy to see the difference and easy to make a choice.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. It has to be online. And a lot of UK and European self-storage businesses don't yet facilitate full online bookings. Yep. So that has held it back a little bit. The second thing is, and this is the thing I think that's different to what anyone's talked about in this industry before, is if you want to successfully unbundle in an industry like self-storage, you've got to break the unbundling down, not just at the point of sale, but over time. So you've got to offer people value at the right time. And what that does is it stops people from getting maybe overly confused or overly hit with too much choice at the time of booking. Get the booking for the unit and the insurance at the time. Get that booking and push the other things. Like, let's say you want to sell 24/7 access or a unit next to the door. When's the best time to ask somebody to upgrade to that? It's not a month in advance of their move-in. It's actually the morning of the move-in when they're contemplating getting stuff out of the van and moving it all over to the unit. So it's not just about, so get it online and break it up over time and hit people at the right time. So like it's an experience I suppose I've had over the past year or two. I've noticed myself, I will sometimes pay for a better seat on the plane, but I only do it the day before or the morning of the flight.
Yep.
I don't do it a month in advance. I just do it the morning off because I'm thinking, I'm about to get on this plane. I'll pay £8
Yep.
to make sure I am not sitting in the middle seat in between 2 massive rugby players.
Yep, exactly.
I've noticed also, like when I'm going to a hotel, which is happening increasingly, like, and I get an offer the day before, like I will sometimes think, actually maybe for an extra £20 I might upgrade to a nicer room. Yep. Maybe. But I wouldn't, when I'm booking it 3 weeks earlier, I'm just thinking, what's the cheapest hotel I can find in London on that night? I'll book that.
Yep.
But then you're thinking, no, it's only an extra £20.
Yep.
It's not too bad.
Timing is important. And a lot of the time, people will just book the cheapest up front or book, they book the bare necessities. And then when it gets closer to the time, plans change.
Yeah.
Happens to me. I'm traveling next week and someone's asked me to bring a big bag home of stuff. It's like, can you collect this and bring this home? Now I have to check a bag. That wasn't the case when I booked the flight. So I think that's a really important point. Is the timing is important. It's not just what you're offering as a service or an upsell. It's the when you offer it. I think it's important. You also hear that rule as well. Is you need to offer somebody something a few times before they actually decide to go ahead and close the sale. I think that stands true as well.
There's a third thing as well.
Yeah.
Just the third thing that I think the reason it hasn't happened yet is because if you're taking 1,000 bookings a year or 10,000 bookings a year, or 20,000 or 50,000, whatever, if you're in that sort of range, you're not taking enough bookings to be able to test these things out, because Ryanair and EasyJet, like their checkout flows have changed massively over 20 years. Like they'll change massively probably over a year. Like they mightn't structurally change, but there'll be lots of things changing all the time. Yep. And like that's not just them trying stuff. Like they're not just, let's just change stuff. That's them running tests because they're getting millions of bookings every year. Yep. They're able to run tests and they're able to use those tests to try an A/B test or an ABC, whatever, over and over and over and over and over again over 20 years to get themselves to the point where they've got the best chance of getting people to pick stuff. Yep. And so, a 1 or 2 or 3 site operator trying these things, like maybe, like I'm not saying don't give them a go, but it's very hard to iterate towards the best solution if you don't have lots of data. So I think the third key thing is you either need to be a massive, massive operator, and this is the advantage for massive operators, like with hundreds and hundreds of sites or millions of bookings a year. Maybe you get away with 500,000 bookings a year, or you're using a software product. So this is why I think this is as we get to the point where we're part of like a second generation of software products in this industry, where it's not just about entering subscriptions, raising invoices, and like managing your site. It's actually about doing all that stuff really well, but also like how do we grow your revenue? How do we help you build a better business, which is our focus for our customers? The only way really we can do this across the whole industry is if a platform like ours starts to think, right, well, here, this is our focus. We're investing a lot of money in this now. We're going to iterate and focus on improving these checkouts for all of our customers. Like we'll take 100,000 bookings, probably more this year, hopefully about 250,000 next year. We're getting to the point now where we have enough data to run these tests and actually say to our customers, look, you don't need to go and do the work. Look, we know if you send a text to somebody 5 seconds after they've buzzed the gate open for the first time, we know 5 seconds later, if you hit them with a text saying, do you want a unit by the front door? It's an extra £4.50 a month or a week, whatever it might be. And we know the exact wording. This is the best way to get that upsell to work for people.
Yep.
We can tell you, we've done this now across, we've tested 500 different ways. And this is the one that's winning. Just turn it on. That's, I think, the third reason that it hasn't happened yet. Nobody's really taken this on, and that's what we want to take on now. We want to bring this approach to our customers and help them to grow the revenue, because I genuinely think this is the key to 20% revenue growth.
Yep. If
you get it right. It's also that's on a per sale basis. It also has additional benefits. So, as we get into a more competitive environment in the UK and Europe, more and more sites, like how you kind of want, because self-storage is a 99.9% gross margin business. Unless your site is completely full, like you have space for more revenue. So you want to kind of capture, like let's say you could sell your unit for £100, or you could sell it for £300. You want to get the £300, of course, but you probably want the 100 as well. So this is a way of sort of breaking up the price that people are prepared to pay, and getting the people who don't want to pay very much to pay £100 and still be a customer. You put them at the back in a unit, and that's fine. They're happy with that. You're happy with that. The ones who are prepared to pay £300 a month, you've a product for them too. So it's about differentiating your product and ultimately getting more revenue and more customers. So I think it's the key to unlocking the whole thing in the industry and moving us away from this concept, which has been, I think, a fair assumption in the past, where the best way for me to get sales here is to have a quote process on the website and have my staff do the sale over the phone. I think that I've heard that argument a lot, and I think there is some data to support that in certain circumstances. But what we've always believed, I think, is the best way to ultimately get a sale should be on the web, on your mobile phone, or on some sort of a digital experience, because you can use these sort of approaches, and it's this sort of approach that will, I think, get lots more customers and ultimately help operators to compete in a more competitive environment.
Very interesting. So technology's role is key.
Yes,
and that's
absolutely.
Why. And whether that's your software platform or gathering data over time, you think that's the main reason this hasn't been tackled at scale yet, because we're still approaching that maturity level as an industry. Are there any other examples you could think of where offering the right offer, the right product, the right time could make a difference? Yeah,
well, we ran through a bunch of these last week, and we've talked about this, so two of us, loads as well. So like the one about beeping the gate or typing in your code at the gate for the first time and getting something 5 seconds later, I think that's a really, really interesting one about a unit near the door, because that's the time you're most likely to upgrade. But a few other things that we talked about, let's say the customer's moving house because they've filled it in a form when they're booking. Maybe a week after they've moved in, send them an email and saying, look, we know plans can change. Like I've moved house, you've moved house. Plans can change with houses. And let's say you've got a 1 month notice period. Maybe you send them an email and say, look, we know plans change. It might be sooner, it might be later. You never know. For an extra £3.50 a week, you can remove your notice period.
Yep. Like
there's something I think that is adding value to a customer who might value that and might take that. And there could be a benefit there to you as well. Hopefully revenue growth. What about asking people after they've moved in, like they moved in a big unit, they've only got £1,000 of insurance coverage. Hit them with a text message or an email saying, we know people in those units tend to have more contents. Just so it has to be, new for old. Make sure you've got enough to get new stuff to replace your contents. Do you want to upgrade from £5,000 or £1,000 to £20,000 of coverage for an extra £3 a week?
Yep.
Hit them with that. That's something you're actually adding value. There's lots more we could do. And like I talked about, Michael O'Leary talking about charging people £1 to go to the toilet in Ryanair flights. So we don't go that far, but things like you could even, with your base price, maybe you only get in twice. The day you move in, the day you move out. Maybe this extra then, I want to be able to come in once a month. That's an extra £2. Or maybe 5 times a month. or once a week or 3 times a week or unlimited. So then your business customers some of them might want unlimited access. So they're paying a lot more, but they're also, using the facility, using your roller shutter doors, using the toilets, all that sort of stuff. So you're actually getting value from people who value that service. You could also say, well, access is Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Yep.
By default. If you want 9 to 5, that's a bit extra. If you want weekends, that's extra. 24/7, again, it's just different prices for different people. When I moved, I've only really used self-storage properly 15 years ago when I went traveling for 4 months, and I moved stuff in, and I was away for 4 months, and I knew I'm not coming back here for 4 months, and I picked a unit up at the back, 5th floor at the back, and there was a slanting ceiling, and it was fine. Did the job. I would have not wanted to pay extra, but there are people who will. I would have taken a 9 to 11 a.m. access Monday to Friday. Cool. I would have fitted around it, whereas it's just a way of getting the customers who want a lower price product and the customers who want a higher price product.
Yeah, it's classic.
That's one way of doing it.
Yeah, it's classic. It's classic needs-based segmentation. Really, when you think about it, it's like these people need these things. Let's offer them services that are valuable to them. In that context, I'm the complete opposite. I'm a self-storage user, and I need access. I need access out of hours. Yeah, and I need the closest unit to the door as possible because I'm moving in heavy things, and I don't want to be climbing upstairs or getting in the lifts. So I'm complete opposite of your scenario. So that's a perfect example of people with different needs. Yeah, it's very interesting. And there's a few other things you touched on that I think really look towards the future of some of this bundling or how we offer services. And you talked about automation quite a lot. Like when this thing happens, do this other thing. And I think automation and APIs and how data flows from one system to another is another really important part of the technology's role in how we offer these things. So and I think that's something that we are thinking quite a lot about, and that we've just announced our public API, and that's hopefully going to make a lot of these things a lot more possible going forward. So we're looking at both these shifts.
Absolutely. And I think if you're watching this and thinking, no, I might try some of those things, I think there's 3 things that we think just be careful to avoid. Don't block the initial checkout. Don't block the initial booking. So it's one of the things we always need to be careful about in even what we're doing with our advanced checkout. Don't block the booking. Make sure and get it. Don't give people too many choices at once, because that can block the booking. But you should just keep it simple, even if you are giving choices. Keep it simple. The third thing is trying to avoid gotcha fees. Customers can feel the difference between something that's kind of adding value and at the right time versus something that punishes you. So, like a £10 to go to the toilet on a plane. I imagine actually, if I was on the plane and I fancied a couple of drinks, I would probably no, I'm not going to have a drink because I need to go to the toilet. So then it would be a net loss for Ryanair to have done that. Probably why they didn't do it. Because you'd end up they'd lose all their margin on alcoholic drinks.
How would they even operationalize the pound for a toilet? Would it be like in London where you have to for the public toilets? Is that what they were thinking?
I don't know. A beeper and use your card to get in. I don't know.
Smart entry to the toilet.
Yeah, maybe you have to pair up with a friend, go in together to save yourself £1.
50p each.
Well, yeah, it's going it might be a bit tight, but anyway, yeah. The other questions that would come out of that, but anyway.
Very good. Okay, well, the talk was very interesting. Hopefully this gives people some insight if they couldn't make Fidessa of what we talked about or what you talked about. And hopefully we'll give you some food for thought on how you can unbundle a self-storage sale, and using the Store platform, we're going to give you the tools to help start experimenting with these things. So adding extra things to check out and unbundling the sale. Thanks. At Stora, our mission is to help our customers build the best self-storage businesses. Self-Storage Explained is here to try and bring you the best from inside and outside the industry to help you grow your business. If you want to find out a bit more resources, go to stora.co to sign up for a demo or find out more. Or you can go to stora.co/academy for lots more resources, including our financial model and other in-depth guides to setting up and growing your business.